Mesopotamia is the land between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. These rivers held a lot of fresh water, though little rain fell, so agriculture wasn't prominent in the region, leading to little food and a small population until 5000 BCE, when the irrigation was introduced by Sumerians, bringing a more prosperous land to them. Soon, militaries and politicians began to arise within South Asia, along with building a more structured society as a whole. The Mesopotamia society was controlled by the Sumerians from 3200 to 2330 BCE. Soon, states were established which broke down the government into separate types of affairs, spreading political rule, making the people stronger by creating community projects like making palaces, temples, and defensive walls. Labor was recruited and organized by the Gilgamesh, who were well known for making city walls and temples. More impressive were the Ziggurat. They were the ones who created temples and pyramids for the deities. One well-known project they made was the city of Uruk, using 1,500 workers, 10 hours per day for 5 years to create a grand city. Irrigation was a very important system that was put at rest by having all water being carefully given out in equal proportions of the cities. Along with irrigation, defensive walls were very important to keep out the raiders and thieves from their cities. In 3000 BCE, Sumerian states had respectable kings, which were originally to gain power would have to be a brave warrior. Where over time that effect wore off, and they saw kings as god from royal lineage in 2800 BCE. Kings began to crave power and would fight the lands around them to gain more land and influence in Mesopotamia. Overshadowing the future of the Sumerians were the Akkadians and Babylonians. One well-known warrior as Surya, who had a coup against the king, where he slowly conquered the city-states, turning it into the most powerful cities in control of many valuable natural resources, going as far as the Mediterranean Black Sea. It lasted several generations until it collapsed in 2150 BCE because of the citizens' revolts and the invasions of more thieves and criminals Soon after Babylon, Hammali rose to power, claiming to be king of the four quarters of the world. He regulated taxes by keeping men stationed in city-states to collect the money instead of them always moving because it cost too much resources. He also made strict laws to follow that could result in the death penalties such as adultery or murder. They also had a law-talians or law of retaliant society, which meant that the way you'd be charged was based off the class you were in. For example, if a nobleman broke a nobleman's arm, he'd be charged with breaking their arm. But if a nobleman broke a peasant's arm, the peasant would just get some silver and be brushed off. Hittites started to attack Babylonia, overtaking Babylonia and becoming the Iranian Empire. They had a very powerful military that was brave, courageous, and very skilled at their jobs.
Later on, chariots were introduced as one of the most efficient ways to travel. Once again, Babylonians had taken control and called their new territory New Babylonia. It had high, thick walls to keep intruders out, along with schools which started to get established more with an official writing system. Also, men started to dominate in relationships. Bronze became a popular item for the wealthy, but was not as easy to get as iron. But it did make more efficient tools. Wheels to get to places became even more popular as it was the number one way to travel on land. First ships were built around 3500 BCE to 2300 BCE and made it easier to travel on water. Kings were chosen by being strong warriors and were seen as above humans, even their deities. Then the priests, then a commoner or slave. Men took control over the society. They could sell their wives and children, and if a woman wasn't true to their husbands for any reason, they would be shamed or executed. Whereas it was okay for a man as long as they were a slave or prostitute. The Mediterranean is the new norm for this time period.